There comes a moment in every life, often without warning, when the ground seems to fall away from beneath your feet. It might be a sudden loss, a professional failure that strikes at the core of your identity, a betrayal that shakes your trust, or simply the relentless, grinding pressure of a world that feels increasingly chaotic. In these moments, the question is not whether you will feel the impact. You are human and you will. But rather, what will you do with the shockwaves that follow? Will they shatter you, leaving you scattered and reactive? Or will you find a way to absorb them, to stand firm amidst the tremors? This is the ultimate test of character. And it is precisely for these moments that the ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers its most profound gifts. It is not a philosophy of passive resignation, but one of active resilience. It provides a framework for building an inner citadel, so strong that no external event can breach its walls. This is the path to becoming truly unshakable, to maintaining your composure and posture when life in chaos is doing its utmost to knock you off balance. The wisdom of the Stoics, from a former slave like Epictetus to an emperor like Marcus Aurelius, is a timeless lesson of life on how to navigate suffering with grace and emerge not broken, but fortified. The journey toward an unshakable self begins with a single, revolutionary idea, one that Epictetus laid out at the very beginning of his Enchiridion. The distinction between what is within our control and what is not. He stated, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." This may sound simple, but its application is a lifelong practice that runs counter to our deepest instincts. We spend an enormous amount of emotional energy trying to control the uncontrollable. We worry about what others think of us, we rage against traffic jams, we anxiously try to force outcomes in relationships and careers. This is like trying to command the wind and the rain. It is a futile effort that leads only to exhaustion and despair. The first step toward composure is to perform this sorting exercise with ruthless honesty, especially when you are under pressure. When a crisis hits, a project at work fails spectacularly, your mind will instinctively race to the externals. The client's unreasonable demands, a colleague's mistake, the market conditions. But the Stoic asks you to pause and redirect your focus inward. What is within your control now? You cannot change the client's past behavior. You cannot undo your colleague's error. And you certainly cannot alter the global market. What you control is your assessment of the situation, your next move, your willingness to learn, and the integrity with which you communicate with your team. By shifting your attention to this sphere of control, you instantly reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the author of your response. This mental shift is the bedrock of an unshakable character. It is the foundation upon which all other Stoic practices are built, and it is the most critical lesson of life for anyone seeking peace in a world of chaos. This foundational principle leads directly to a powerful Stoic discipline, known as the dichotomy of control, which we can think of as a mental habit of constant categorization. The goal is to make the sorting of what is mine to influence versus what is not an automatic reflex. Imagine you are about to give a major presentation. Your heart is pounding. Your palms are sweaty. A modern approach might involve positive affirmations. I hope it goes well. I hope they like me. The Stoic approach is different and far more grounding. Before you step into the room, you prepare by applying the dichotomy. What is outside your control? The mood of the audience, the questions they might ask, the technical equipment functioning perfectly, the final outcome. You release your attachment to these things entirely. What is within your control? Your preparation, your clarity of thought, your sincerity, your effort to communicate effectively, your ethical conduct. You focus all your energy here. The result is not a lack of care, but a profound liberation from anxiety. You do your absolute best with what is yours to command, and you accept the rest with equanimity. This is the essence of maintaining your posture. You are no longer performing for external validation. You are acting from internal virtue. Whether the presentation is a roaring success or a quiet failure, your worth remains intact because it was never tied to the outcome in the first place. It was tied to your effort and your character. This habit, practiced daily with small irritations and large challenges alike, forges a spirit that is resilient and unshakable. Another profound tool the Stoics offer for weathering life's tests is the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. At first glance, this seems like a recipe for anxiety, deliberately imagining things going wrong. Yet, when done correctly, it is an exercise in inoculation. The chaos of modern life often shocks us because we are conditioned to expect comfort, ease, and linear progress. We feel entitled to a smooth journey, and when obstacles arise, we perceive them as personal affronts. The Stoics sought to shatter this sense of entitlement by regularly and calmly visualizing potential setbacks. Seneca would advise his followers to contemplate the loss of their possessions, their status, and even their loved ones. He wasn't promoting morbid fear. He was building emotional calluses. The logic is simple. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. By mentally rehearsing adversity, we strip it of its element of surprise and its power to paralyze us. How can you apply this today? Before an important trip, instead of just hoping for no delays, spend a moment considering what you would do if your flight was canceled. Before a difficult conversation, visualize the other person reacting with anger or dismissal, and plan your calm response. This is not pessimism, it is preparedness. It is the difference between a soldier who panics when the first shot is fired, and one who has trained for this moment and knows how to react. When you have already walked through the worst-case scenario in your mind, its actual arrival feels familiar, manageable. Your composure remains intact because you have already visited this territory. You have a plan. This practice is a vital antidote to the fragility encouraged by a culture of instant gratification, and it is a crucial lesson of life for anyone facing uncertainty. Central to the Stoic posture in the face of hardship is the concept of amor fati, a love of fate. This is perhaps the most challenging yet transformative Stoic ideal, coined later by Nietzsche but deeply rooted in Stoic thought. Amor fati means accepting everything that happens, not with grudging resignation, but with a welcoming heart. It is the decision to see every event, especially the difficult ones, as necessary and even beneficial for your path. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. And, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not about pretending that pain doesn't hurt. It is about a fundamental reframing of your relationship with reality. Instead of fighting against what is, a battle you will always lose, you learn to work with it. A project failure is not just a failure. It is a lesson of life in humility, and a source of invaluable data for future efforts. A personal betrayal is an opportunity to practice forgiveness and to learn discernment in your relationships. A period of ill health can be a forced retreat that teaches you about patience and what is truly important. Life in chaos becomes a training ground, and every obstacle is a teacher. When you cultivate amor fati, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can this make of me?" This shift turns you from a passive recipient of fate into an active participant in your own development. It is the ultimate expression of an unshakable spirit, one that cannot be defeated because it uses every blow to temper its strength. Finally, the Stoics emphasize the critical importance of anchoring your sense of self in something impervious to external forces. In our modern world, we are tempted to build our identities on fragile foundations. Our job title, our social media following, our wealth, our physical appearance. But these are all things that fortune can give and fortune can take away in an instant. If your self-worth is tied to your career, a layoff will feel like an annihilation. If it is tied to your wealth, a market crash will bring existential terror. The Stoics argued that the only secure foundation for a truly unshakable self is your character, your virtue, your integrity, your courage, your justice, your wisdom. These are qualities that no external event can touch. You can be imprisoned like Seneca and still write letters of profound wisdom. You can be a slave like Epictetus and still be freer than your master because your mind is your own. You can be an emperor surrounded by war and plague like Marcus Aurelius and still maintain your composure by focusing on your duty. This is the final and most important lesson of life that Stoicism teaches. When life tests you, as it inevitably will, the answer is not to try and control the storm. The answer is to return again and again to the one thing you truly own: your will, your judgment, your intention to act with excellence according to your nature. This is how you cultivate a posture of unassailable dignity. You begin to see that the tests are not punishments. They are the very conditions required to develop the strength you seek. The chaos is not your enemy. It is the raw material for building a life of profound meaning and peace. And in that realization, you become not just resilient but truly, deeply unshakable.